My name is Jerica Miles. This is my oral presentation of Harmony in Pink and Gray, Lady Muse by James Abbott McNeill Whistler. The portrait itself is actually very large, but it measures 76 by 36 and 5/16 inches, which makes it about a little over 6 foot tall, which is actually pretty impressive. The picture is an oil on canvas painting, and if we look at the painting, we can see that Lady Muse, instead of facing completely towards us, has the side of her body pointed towards the painter, while her face is pointed towards the painter, and she's looking directly at him, which this stance kind of gives her a very bold and confident feel. Also, whenever we look at the painting, we see that Whistler has positioned Lady Muse on a red carpet with a gray curtain background. This actually helps kind of draw your attention to Lady Muse herself because of the contrast from the deep pink carpet and the lighter gray curtains accompanied with the light gray and light pink of Lady Muse's dress. It kind of helps her image pop. Also, along with the carpet and the curtain, we notice that the only part of Lady Muse's body that is exposed is her face. She's wearing from, I guess it'd be neck to toe, a very lovely day dress in gray and pink. Also, she's wearing a wide brim pink hat, which helps complement her shape. And also, she's wearing a set of gray gloves. Also, whenever we look at Lady Muse's face, we see that she has very bold eyes. Now, Whistler has painted her face very detailed along with the eyes, so that kind of draws you to her eyes. Helps you to get an image of Lady Muse's personality, that bold, fearless look. And also, whenever we look at the painting, we notice that there's very little evidence of brushstroke, which this is something that Whistler was very well known for. He felt that a talented artist did not need to actually leave evidence of his handiwork behind with brushstroke. And then also, even though we don't really notice very much brushstroke, there is a little bit in the painting. But Whistler uses these brushstrokes to kind of help bring out details, especially on Lady Muse's hat along with her dress, and also some in the carpet and curtains. Also, in order to help bring out details, Whistler uses different shades or different tones of the pinks and grays, especially in the dress itself. It helps give it a very nice texture, almost as if it was real. Henry Muse actually commissioned Whistler to paint 3 portraits of Lady Muse, his wife. There was only actually 2 of the paintings that were actually completed. The first being Arrangement in Black, number 5, and the second being Harmony in Flesh Color and Pink, which was later changed by Whistler in 1892 to Harmony in Pink and Gray, which is the title we know the painting by today. The third painting was never actually completed, and this was because Whistler was very well known for his sittings while he was doing the portrait paintings. And a lot of times, most of his sitters would become very frustrated and agitated with him. And this happened while he was painting Lady Muse. During the painting of the third portrait, Lady Muse and Whistler actually got into a heated argument. Lady Muse actually never returned. Also, Harmony in Pink and Gray is one of Whistler's better known paintings, and it was actually put on display May 1st of 1882 at the Grosvenor Gallery. It was very well known that Whistler did not get along well with critics, and a lot of times he found himself in heated arguments with critics. One such argument that kind of got out of hand was between Whistler and Mr. Ruskin. Ruskin had actually written a short little diatribe about one of Whistler's nocturne paintings, criticizing Whistler's talent as an artist and his capability as an artist. Whistler found this very distressing, so he actually took Mr. Ruskin to court and sued him for libel. Even though most critics did not get along well with Whistler, there was those who actually did realize that he had quite a bit of talent. One critic made the comment of Harmony in Pink and Gray, portrait of Mrs. Muse, in which it was not so much the face as the figure and the movement that came to deftly suggested, if hardly elaborately expressed. And that was F. Wedmore. And one of the critics who actually found his paintings even more engaging had this to say. Julian Hawthorne stated, "They are delicious likenesses of a beautiful woman, ready to step off the canvas and give you a kiss if she fancied you." Now, to compare Harmony in Pink and Gray with another one of Whistler's works, this painting here is actually Portrait of the Artist's Mother, which is his most well-known painting. Back to comparing the two paintings, we see that both paintings are actually very soft. This is something that Whistler was also well known for. And it goes back to the fact that he did not feel that artists needed to prove that they had done a good work by leaving evidence of their brush strokes. And we will also see in both paintings that there is very little evidence of brush strokes. The only brush strokes that we see is whenever Whistler used them to help bring out the details of the painting itself. Whistler was actually known to make the comment, "Paint should not be applied thick. It should be like breath on the surface of a pane of glass." And this saying goes very well with actually how he painted. If you look at most of Whistler's paintings, they're all very soft with very little evidence of brushstroke. But even though the paintings are soft, we still notice that there is quite a bit of detail, especially in the faces of those that he painted portraits of. Now a little bit of history about Mr. Whistler. James Abbott McNeill Whistler was born July 11th, 1834 in Lowell, Massachusetts. His father was George Whistler and his mother was Anna McNeill. They lived in America until his father got a job in Russia working with the railroad. Upon receiving this job, Mr. Whistler moved his family to St. Petersburg in Russia, which is where they actually lived from 1842 to 1849. Also, while in Russia, this is whenever Whistler first started taking art lessons, and he did this at the Imperial Academy, which was very close to where they lived in St. Petersburg. After George Whistler's death, Anna Whistler moved James and his younger brother Willie back to Connecticut, which is where they resided from 1849 to 1851. In 1851, Whistler enrolled at West Point, and he remained there until 1853. After leaving West Point, Whistler stayed in America for a few years and had a few odd-end jobs, but he knew exactly where he wanted to go. He knew that he wanted to live in Paris. He left for England in the fall of 1855. While in Paris, Whistler studied under Glyer, who studied under Ingres, which both were actually very well-known painters. Whistler lived in Paris from 1863 until 1863, and then he moved to London. He lived in London from 1863 to 1879. While he lived in London, he actually had quite a bit of financial difficulty after the Whistler versus Ruskin trial. Shortly after that, he had to file bankruptcy. After he filed bankruptcy, Whistler moved to Venice and lived there from 1879 until 1880. Then he returned to London. Whenever he returned to London, after selling the paintings and getting quite a bit of fame and having more success selling other paintings, Whistler and his wife decided that they would move back to Paris in the early 1890s. And that is where Whistler lived until he died on July 17, 1903.